In this video I'm going to show you all you need to know about the Jackson Dave Ellefson Kelly Bird 5 signature bass. Hi guys, I'm Tyler. Thank you for tuning back into the channel once again. If you're new around here, don't forget to hit that like button and consider subscribing as well. So as I said in the introduction, this is the Jackson Dave Ellefson Kelly Bird 5 signature bass, and in this video I'm going to show you everything you need to know about it. I'm going to give you a tone demo of two different styles, fingerstyle and pick style, back to back, so you can hear the different sounds you can get from this EQ and the pickup combinations. I'm also going to be giving you a run through the specification of the bass, and then also giving you a solo tone demo just to show you some of the things you can do with the bass and give you an idea of some ideas you might want to perhaps put into practice if you own this bass. I should also say that this video is in collaboration with Langley Guitar Centre in the UK, so if you want to buy this bass you can. It's from their stock. I'll leave a link in the description. You can check it out there. And as well as that, I'm here at NAM Studios in Wiltshire, so shout out to NAM, and I'll leave a link to the studio there too if you want to come record or come record with me here. You can do that, and the links are all in the description. So this bass is Dave Ellefson's signature bird shaped bass, Thunderbird kind of shaped bass, and these specs are pretty promising when you look at it from the outset, and I'm going to just run you through those right now. So starting with the construction, we have a basswood body, and then we have a maple neck with block inlays. Coming to the pickups, we have EMG HZ pickups, which are passive EMG pickups paired with an active EMG circuit. So we have volume, a pickup blend with a notch in the middle so you can tell where it is, and then 3-band active EQ with treble, mid and bass, and each of those also have a notch. We then have a Jackson high mass bridge at the back here, which is a nice touch, a bit better than you'd expect on a bass of this kind of price. Moving to the headstock, we have Jackson tuners in the typical Jackson 5 in a row style. Moving around to the back of the bass, we have a 4-bolt neck joint. We have this, which is the battery compartment, because obviously you've got that active EQ, so we need a battery to power that. So that's here, easy access, you can just peel that straight off. And then the control cavity here, which is plated and screwed in. So those are the basics of the construction. I'm just going to talk about the neck profile now. The neck profile on this bass, being a 5-string, is going to be a little bit wider than some of the other basses I've previously reviewed. The nut width is 44.5mm, so that's a typical kind of 1 3/4 inch nut you'd expect on a precision bass, but obviously we have an extra string compared to a normal P bass. The neck is pretty slim all the way up, really slims out down towards the bottom of the nut, doesn't thicken out at all really, and is just a very wide neck. This bass has a pretty flat radius. I think it goes from 12 to 16 as you come up the fretboard, so it's a flat wide neck. I should also say that the neck is finished with satin on the rear, which I always find is comfortable, easy to get around, not a problem at all. I will say that ergonomically the bass is probably not one of my favourites. The first thing I would suggest is if you're going to use this bass with a strap, you need to get some strap locks, because I've just got a typical strap on here and it just doesn't feel comfortable or secure. So I suggest you replace the strap pins with some strap locks, and this is how it sits when you stand up. As you can tell, there's a bit of a tendency to dive. I think that's exacerbated pretty badly by the fact that the headstock is so long, and obviously we have tuners and weight right on the end of the headstock. Maybe some lighter weight tuners might help alleviate that, but I think naturally this bass, it's not the most comfortable when it sits. The other thing is that I find that everything seems to be about 1 or 2 frets to the left, so when I'm playing, if I'm sat playing and not watching, where I think is typically 1st fret is actually 2nd fret, and I'm quite used to switching between 35 and 34 inch scale. This is a 34 inch scale, and despite that, I think where the body centres here, it just sits further away from you than you're expecting, more than the 35 inch scale bass. So if you know that you're uncomfortable with a 35 inch scale, this might not be for you, because how far the neck sits out is going to be further than that. I'd say it's similar to playing a 36 or 37 inch scale bass. I also think it's quite difficult to place your hand, and typically I end up playing right around the bridge by default, not through any real choice of my own. I'd rather play over the front pickup, but it naturally seems to want to just sit kind of there when I'm stood up playing, or even when I'm sat. it just kind of feels the right place. And the way that the body slopes away here, that just kind of feels like that's naturally where you should sit. But you do start to feel quite a disconnect from the distance from your right hand to your left. So those are the specs of the bass. Now I'm just going to run you through some tones, just have a little play with the EQ, and show you perhaps some ideas that you could use with this bass. So this is the tone with the pickup selection in the middle, volume full up, and the EQ flat, straight down the middle. This is the rear pickup. And this is the front pickup. Now I'm just going to run you through the range of each of the controls. So this is the treble control. This is the mid control. And this is the bass control. So hopefully that's given you an idea of the range of the controls on the bass and the different sounds you can get from the pickup soloed. Now I'm going to go into the head-to-head comparison. Don't forget, if you're liking this video so far, hit that like button. now you've seen the different tones you can get from this bass head to head. Let me know in the comments below which was your favourite tone setting from those. I'm now going to just give you my opinion on this bass and suggest who this bass would be best suited to. Overall, I've got to say that I'm kind of disappointed with this bass. I think that there's a lot of promise and potential. The hardware on this bass is pretty good for the price. Things like the high mass bridge, the really good tuners, nice EMG pickups, but there's just a few points that really kind of let this bass down for me. The first one is the EQ. I find that when you get the bass on full, it's just overpowering, and up until that point, it doesn't really do much. And that's kind of the same story for the whole range of the EQ. Typically, an active 3-band EQ would be enough for me to do anything, but I actually find it's really hard to get any real variety of tones from this EQ section. It might not come across that way when it's direct and on the video, but here in the room, hearing it through the DI and then back out, it's just not really changing that much or as much as I want it to, and I'm having to make really drastic changes in EQ to get any kind of noticeable difference. I think the most significant is the mid-range EQ, and it sits right in that kind of harsher range, which is going to help you cut through a lot. But the bass doesn't seem to really add much body and weight until you get it right to the end, at which point it's just way too much. And then the treble EQ again, you turn it right up and then it's got this horrible papery hissiness to it. But before that, it's not really adding a brightness or a sheen to your tone. So I'd probably suggest if you're going to buy this bass and you want to make it a bass that you use regularly, I'd potentially upgrade the EQ within this bass. I think the pickups themselves are nice, typical modern sounding pickups. They're not Fender style pickups. They don't sound like a Fender. If you put it onto the front pickup, you can definitely get a P-bass type tone, which is kind of a typical front pickup tone, and I really like that tone actually. Out of all the tones on this bass, that's my favourite. And the back pickup tone soloed sounds good to me as well. In the middle position, I'm not that keen. It's just a kind of very standard scooped bass kind of sound that I prefer a little bit of that Fender character and growl and mid-range, and it doesn't really have that when you're in the middle position. The other thing I'd say about this bass is that the ergonomics of it just make it really difficult to play. Out of all the basses I've reviewed, this is probably the bass that I've struggled to play the most. The fact that it wants the neck dive, you can see there, it's going straight away, makes it a really difficult bass to play for me. And the fact that it doesn't sit comfortably on the body, it doesn't sit across the leg comfortably. I want to really kind of play right there, and the bass is falling away. It doesn't want to sit in that position. Kind of having to balance the bass using my right arm right on the back, over the back pickup, to get it to fit and sit right. And that's a shame really, because I love basses in this kind of shape. I loved my Thunderbird when I had one, and I think it's an awesome shape. But the Thunderbird is immeasurably easier to play, and I think the fact that Jackson, and I think Jackson are owned by Fender now, are trying to, they don't want to be lawsuit or anything like that. They want to have a different design and shape. It's just a shame that hasn't really come off in a way that's super playable and nice to play on this bass. So overall, I've really got to struggle to recommend this bass to many people. If you're a Dave Ellefson fan and you want a bass in the Thunderbird kind of shape for quite a low price, it's a good shout. But just be aware of the kind of shortcomings that I've said about. Really, with the hardware and things, I was really hopeful this would be a great bass. It has the potential to be, but just some of the ergonomic things like the headstock just make it a really difficult bass to recommend. But if you're a fan of Megadeth and you like what Dave Ellefson does, and that's your kind of thing, that kind of music, you're going to enjoy playing one of these, and it's going to look cool out on a gig. So there's that side of things. But for me, as a player that wants to play all the time, practice, things like that, I can't say that I'd enjoy this, and I can't say that I'd use it as a studio tool here either. For me, there's just so much more that these EQ and active electronics could do, and I'd rather actually have had a passive tone control than these active electronics, which don't, for me, do that much. Despite that, I would say that for an Indonesian-made bass built at this price, the build quality is really good and the finish is really nice. It's just a shame that some of the ways that it's designed make it really difficult to play, and it does have shortcomings which are totally associated with this price. So those are my thoughts on the Kelly Bird 5 by Jackson. Let me know your thoughts on this bass. Have I been overly harsh? Do you own one of these or own the 4-string version and think it's a great bass? Let me know in the comments below, and tell me I'm wrong if I'm wrong. 100%. Don't forget this video was in collaboration with Guitar Centre Langley, and this bass is one of their stock. So if you want to check this bass out for yourself and see if what you think I'm saying is actually pretty harsh, then you can in store. But they also sell a ton of other basses, loads of Fender stock, and they always have a few interesting bits and pieces in. So head over there, check them out. The link to this bass and their website will be in the description. And don't forget to head over to my Instagram, that will be linked below right now. And other than that, thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and I will see you around next time.